What's up, people? Welcome back to the What's on Your Mind podcast. So this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. I'm going to go through my list and check things I haven't talked about as much, and then this will be like a little rapid fire episode, and then go from there. I'm going to start off. I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's not the first thing on my list, but this is something I want to talk about. And the episode title for this was going to be, if I gave this a separate episode, was going to be Destiny. Why I want a daughter first as a child. And I really wanted to make that its own episode. The reason why I'm doing this kind of rapid fire episode is because I don't know if these will be, I guess, long enough. Like, I guess these will probably be like 5-minute stories. So I guess maybe I'll make this a series, just 5-minute stories. But who knows? But yeah, so I have a really good relationship with my sister. And she's one of the most amazing women I've seen in my life, but I've seen her go through things that are unimaginable. And I've seen her go through things with specific people that have wanted me to create a life for my daughter that doesn't reflect what I saw with my sister. And I really want to create a life for my wife and daughter, my future wife and daughter, to where they don't have to have any worries at all. That's one of the main things I tell people, like when they ask, what are your dreams? What do you want to do in your life? And that's one of the main things. It's why I'm so hard on myself, because I want to be so successful to where the people in my life don't have to worry, but especially my wife and daughter. I've always had a dream of being the husband or the girl dad and putting smiles on their faces every single day. And I want to keep the part of myself that's so sweet. I've always been told, and this will segue to another topic that I wanted to talk about. I've always been told to never change in my life. I've always been told that one statement: never change who you are. Never change who you are. And while I don't see myself changing, I've always heard this from like older women in my life that like once dudes get a daughter, they get so sweet. They change and become the opposite of how they were in their younger lives. And the only difference for me is I'm already a very sweet guy. I've already am very in tap with my emotions, and I'm really, really affectionate. And I want to have a daughter to keep that part of me and to just see her smile. And I don't know, it's obviously having a son and making A for it, because yes, I'm definitely naming him Anthony. Having a son would be amazing as well, but I just really, really want a daughter. So those were those two things, why I want a daughter. And then the episode title would have been the simple statement that changed my life. Or let me make sure, because I'm looking at my list at the moment. Where is it? It's somewhere. I'm trying to make sure I find it before I just keep ranting on. Can't find it for some reason. I'll try to look one more time, because bear with me. I know if somebody listens to this, they're like, this is not what I came here for. But all right, I found it. The simple statement told to me that changed my life forever: never change who you are. That's would have been the title of that episode. But continuing down my list, I'm going to skip some things because some of them could potentially be longer episodes, and plus some of them are pretty dark, and I want this to be more of an upbeat episode. So we can go to... Matter of fact, yeah, I'll combine these next two. So one of them I'm looking at is everything on your mind does not need to be discussed. And I'll combine that with another topic I want to talk about. I don't know if it's in my list specifically, but a friend of mine who I'll eventually have on the podcast, shout out Haley, she sent me a TikTok about a woman talking to a man, and she was saying that it was another conversation of like all men are trash, or I hate all men, or just she is expressing her feelings on why she feels the way she does towards men. And my first instinct with those type of conversations are always to listen, because when people tell me like men are trash, I genuinely don't disagree at times. And it always gets to a point where sometimes it's embarrassing to be a man, because you would see how certain guys treat women, and they would say things like about women's weight or about how they look, and it's really saddening. There's an artist and a newer upcoming rapper. Her name is Ice Spice. She's kind of taken over TikTok by storm, at least. And there were people who loved her at first. She had her songs. I can't remember if the song name is Munch or not, but obviously I know the song. I'm just trying to think of the title. But when she came out with her songs, and then it was talked about how she had the Drake cosign, or she was with Drake, people loved her. But as time went on, you began to see some really nasty comments about her. And there were some people I actually got into an argument with on Twitter, out of all places, because people were saying, like, she should just be a sex worker. Why does she keep making music? She's not that good, but she's really attractive and has a nice body. Why don't she just be a sex worker? This is a genuine conversation I had with people on Twitter. And it really upset me, because you're basically degrading her to just her body and telling her what to do. And it reminded me of the statement made towards LeBron James of just shut up and dribble. And obviously it isn't racist by Ice Spice, but it's very sexist. And it's very telling when black men are the people to diminish black women. That's why another episode title I had in my list somewhere was Black Men of America. Let's talk. Like, that was just it of the title. Because as much as no one's perfect, women have their issues too, and men sometimes are treated poorly on their own right. That's perfectly valid and true. But it's very telling when black men are the one who talk about black women the most. And it's very frustrating as a black man, because black women are the strongest people on this earth, period. The things that black women go through, especially if they are not a straight black woman, the things that they have to go through are things that we could not, as men, could never imagine. Especially going through things such as their menstrual cycle or their periods. Obviously, all women go through this too, but just women in general, we literally would not be here without God and women. And to keep it specifically on black women, the trials they go through every day, I respect them so much. And to see black men be the main culprits of people who diminish women is very frustrating. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in a previous episode before. I think I did, but Andrew Tate is black. I'm pretty sure he has black in him, but he's a black. I would classify him as a black man. I'm pretty sure one of his parents are black. That's really all I have to say as far as how irritating that is. I personally could have went without knowing that. But to hear, I don't know. It's just very frustrating. But I'll move on from that conversation. That can be a whole nother episode. I'm pretty sure I've had episodes about it. So yeah, we'll cut that short. But to keep going down the list, man, I've had some good episodes. I really appreciate having the platform to talk about these things. Like I just scrolled by the underrepresentation and underappreciation of slim or darker toned black women in the media and in life. I'm pretty sure that whole title didn't make it through, but I'm really glad I was able to have a platform to talk about that. But one of the next things on my list is just unpopular opinions. Do I have some right off the bat to just throw out there? Chick-fil-A is overrated. McDonald's fries reheated with ketchup are not that bad. What are some? I don't know. I've had some good ones, but I just talk about them so frequently it gets to a point where it's not even unpopular anymore. But I don't know. Somebody, if anybody listens this far and has feedback and just asks, maybe like some days later, maybe I'll have some more unpopular opinions. But another interesting one I had is when somebody wins, somebody also loses. The reality of life. And I'm pretty sure I got that topic from the last NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. And I was really happy to see Steph Curry perform the way he did. Especially, I used to be, in my younger days, I really did not like Steph Curry just because I'm a big LeBron fan. So seeing him kind of beat LeBron, I'm like, I don't like him, or I don't like the Warriors, they too good. But my parents, especially my dad, are huge Steph Curry fans. And I remember it's one of the running jokes of my friend group. You gotta really know me and really went to CPA to understand this lore of me. But my favorite player is LeBron James, so my parents got me a LeBron James jersey. But the next year, or like the same year, I don't remember, they also got me a Steph Curry jersey. And for the longest time, I didn't wear the Steph Curry jersey because I didn't like Steph Curry. I'm like, I don't like him, and I don't want to be seen as fake. But I felt bad because it was a Christmas gift. It was literally sitting in my closet. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wear it one day. Next free dress, I'm going to wear it. And the moment I wore it, they're like, you just said you was a LeBron fan. You just wore a LeBron jersey. Now you're wearing a Steph Curry jersey. You a fake fan. And to this day, some people still walk up to me and be like, bro, you a fake fan, bro. I want it every year. I'm like, bro. And I say the same response every time. It was a Christmas gift. Like, bro. But it's just funny now getting to the point where I'm a Steph Curry fan and getting older and appreciating the things he's doing for his career. Because there were moments where people tried to ridicule him once he got injured. There were people literally saying that another point guard by the name of Damian Lillard was better than him. And I won't go into the full debate because this specific conversation is one of the reasons why I hate debating, especially hate debating basketball. But there were a lot of statistics and just looking at the players to show that that was not the case at all. And there were literally people such as Kenny Smith. He's an announcer, or he's an analyst and a former basketball player, who said, I don't know if Steph Curry can do the things Damian Lillard doing. And then Steph Curry came back from injury and dropped 63 on his head. But regardless of all that, as glad I was to see Steph Curry win that championship, ironically, in this finals, I was not cheering for the Golden State Warriors. I was cheering for the Boston Celtics, and I wanted Jason Tatum, he's a player from the Boston Celtics, to win. And once they lost, it was good to see Steph Curry win and get a finals MVP. In the NBA, a finals MVP is where you get the most valuable player award for that specific finals, for that specific championship. And it was good to see Steph Curry finally get that because that was one of the main things held against him for his career. But to see the players on the opposite side lose, I do feel bad for the opposing team. Even when a team I'm cheering for wins, there always has to be a loser. And in life, there are going to be successful people and there are going to be people who aren't as successful. As much as I can go through my own problems and my own traumas in life, it always can be worse. It leads me to a story where I was having a really bad day at school and in college. A lot of assignments were stressing me out. I wasn't in a good spot emotionally, and I was having a really bad day. And I was walking from class very depressed and upset. And then as I'm walking, I see a homeless person. I see someone literally laying in the grass without a coat, or really without clothes. I'm pretty sure it was kind of hot during this time. Without clothes, they were they had a grocery cart with open food, and they looked sick. And it just had me realize, like, wow, God, I see what you're doing. Like, it can always be worse. And not to say they lost at life, but it's always two sides to every story. To every victory, there's someone who didn't achieve that same goal. And there's a lot of pain and agony that goes into wanting to be great. And everyone won't reach the mountaintop. Everyone won't get to a point where they succeed at everything they do. And that just had me really think about when somebody wins, somebody also loses. And this is just how life works. And yeah. To go on to another statement that isn't the happiest, but I'll talk about it because it kind of relates in sports. The title of this would have been Innocent Until Proven Guilty. The understandable hypocrisy of this statement and the double standards of life. And I guess I'll combine this to the one right under it. Are gender roles necessary? And can they be flexible based on the situation? Spoiler alert to that question, my answer is going to be yes and no, kind of. But to do one thing at a time, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know which one to start off with, but I don't know which topic in the innocent until proven guilty to start off with, but I'll go about just the hypocrisy of that statement, because a judge can say innocent until proven guilty, but as a black person, or as black people, we understand that may not always be the case in our circumstance. But not even to make this a race thing, just in general, it's very hypocritical when people say innocent or proven guilty, because there will be situations to where they immediately villainize someone in a case. Let's take the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion case for an example. Immediately, from the moment it was announced, people sided with Megan Thee Stallion. Me partially being one of those people. And that's why the second part of this title, if I would have made it its own separate episode, is the understandable hypocrisy of the statement. Because I hold the belief of no matter what, no one would lie about being shot. Point blank, period. And when it came out that this situation was going on, even with partial evidence coming out, there were still people who had the opinion of Tory Lanez did it. He shot Megan, and nothing's going to change my mind about that. And while that's very understandable, it is very hypocritical to the statement of innocence or proven guilty, because Tory Lanez has not been convicted of anything. And if we're being honest and transparent, there has been evidence that have came out to suggest that he did not shoot her. Now, him not doing it and Megan Thee Stallion not getting shot are completely two different things. And as much as your opinion may sway one way or the other, as a black woman, it's very aggravating to see her be ridiculed and talked about in the way that she is, and pretty much be called a liar, because we do not know what happened that night. Only God, Megan Thee Stallion, and people who were there know what happened that night. And as a black woman, for her to be called a horse, for her to be called a liar, I've seen these things as a black man. And it's very frustrating to see a young black woman who's gone through so much, who's lost her mother and her grandmother, if I'm not mistaken, who've gone through so much tragedy, who've gone through so much pain, to be talked about the way that she does when we do not know anything. So as much as it is a hypocritical statement to say innocent or proven guilty and then to turn around and not show that action, it's very understandable. Another incident that happened is with a football player by the name of Deshaun Watson, and it was he has allegedly sexually harassed people. I'll just leave it there. And while he has not been convicted of anything, no one is comfortable with just believing that he didn't do it, because he was accused from multiple women and multiple sources. And even though he wasn't proven innocent, quote unquote, I have the personal opinion that all these women would not lie. Now, some may do these things to get money from him because he's a rich man, but I'm not comfortable with believing that all of these women or all of those women were lying. And the National Football League, the NFL, end up suspending him for a majority of this season. There are about 16 or 17 games of the season, and Deshaun Watson was suspended for 11 of them. Why would they suspend him if he didn't do anything? Now, the answer to that could be so they can look good in the public eye, so they won't just allow him to come back. Because from everything we know to this moment, Deshaun Watson is innocent. And to everything we know and to everything that's been released in the public, Deshaun Watson, all those women were lying. But even if he wasn't convicted of anything, there have been countless stories where women have been sexually harassed or worse, and the person who did it to them got off scotch-free. It happens. It can happen every day. The flip side can also happen to where people lie about these things and potentially ruin someone's lives. I haven't experienced it firsthand, but I know of people in my life who have been in situations to where someone accused them of something that they didn't do, and it could have went very badly. So, while innocent until proven guilty does not hold up most of the time, it's very understandable when it doesn't, because there are certain situations to where you just aren't comfortable within yourself to believe someone, and it's okay. It's human nature, and it's only up to what's shown in the light on if they're innocent or not, if they did do the things they're accused of. And no one really ever knows if someone's innocent or not. And the last part of this title, to segue into the other thing we're going to talk about, are the double standards of life. And I'll just combine that with the next thing to talk about, the next statement of, are gender roles necessary? Like I said earlier, yes and no. To answer the second part of the question easier, can they be flexible based on the situation? Of course. We don't live in the times where women should stay in the kitchen and men should go out and work, or men should go hunt the food, or women should stay and protect the kids. We're not in that lifestyle anymore. However, there are women who are okay with that. There are some women who want to be housewives, and there are some men who want to do all the working and want to provide for the women in their lives. And really, I'll lean more towards no and gender roles being necessary. And I feel like it all depends on the relationship and what's needed for that relationship. In my own relationship, with it being young, with me being a young man, I would love to give my girlfriend the world. I want to give her everything because I know she would do the same for me. But there is always a necessary balance, so one person won't be doing all the heavy lifting. I asked my dad pretty much the same question, and who brings what to the table. And he said that 50-50 is the closest option, but it doesn't always work like that. And he said that, like, take this for example. He said that if it was always one person doing, let's say, the cooking and one person working, or one person take care of the household and one person working, it wouldn't work, because at the end of the day, you two are still doing something on your own. One person is doing all the working and one person is doing all the cooking or all the housework. And each of you would, or each partner would have resentment towards the other because they don't have time to do the opposite thing. Like, the person who's always working doesn't have time to rest at the house, or the one who's taking care of the house doesn't have time to work or do other things that they may want to do. So he always explained that it's very situational. Like, let's say you go to the movies with someone. If one person buys the tickets, one person buys the food. Or if one person buys the tickets and food, or like a snack from the movie theater, the next person pays for dinner. Or if you buy dinner one time, she should buy dinner for you as well. He said it's always situational, and it really depends on how the relationship works and what's needed for the relationship. So gender roles, I don't feel they're necessary, that hey, women should do this and men should do this, because that ties into the double standards of life. It's deemed okay when let's say if a woman paints her nails or gets makeup done. It's deemed totally normal for women to do that. But if a man were to paint his nails, or if he were to get makeup for whatever reason, even if he's on TV to cover blemishes, he's deemed as less manly than his counterpart. Or he's called gay, or he's called a slur based on things that he may want to do. But it's totally fine the other way around. Or when men do things, it's deemed okay. Like when people are so critical on women talking about sex in their music, you can turn around and say the same thing for men when they do the exact same thing, or when they talk about violence or drug violence or doing drugs or gang violence, it's not looked at some type of way from some people. Some people, like myself, criticize both to a certain degree. At a certain extent, I personally feel that certain things shouldn't be talked about all the time on both sides. But again, this usually is black men who have this issue. They always say all women talk about in their music is having sex and popping their body parts and this and this and that. But then when you turn around and think about how men do the same thing, it's not looked at as negative. It's just looked at as normal. So it's another thing that can be talked about in life. And for the sake of potentially making this a series, I'll leave it there with the random rapid fire ideas. And for the people who do listen to this podcast, I'll put out there, if anyone wants to talk about ideas or send me ideas that they will want me to talk about or think about, like Haley did with the TikTok she sent me, feel free to do so. Never be afraid to send me things or just ask me questions based on topics that you're thinking of that you maybe want to discuss on a podcast. I wouldn't mind doing it at all. I would love to do it. And I really appreciate any input or any participation I get from anyone who wants to share ideas. And as always, I appreciate you for listening, and thank you for tuning into this episode. Hopefully you come back and tune into another one. Bye.